So today we did a tour around Darwin. So the Larakia people were the original traditional custodians of the land, and they've lived there for tens of thousands of years. In 1839, Captain John Lort Stokes sailed into the harbour on the HMS Beagle, and he named the port after his former shipmate, the famous naturalist Charles Darwin, though Charles Darwin never actually visited the city. Though originally founded as Palmerston in 1869, so 30 years later, the settlement boomed when the overland telegraph line linked Australia to the rest of the world in 1872, closely followed by a massive gold rush at Pine Creek, and it was officially renamed Darwin in 1911. So when I go to new places, I always like to do the hop on, hop off bus. It really gives you quite an orientation to the city. You get the background and the history, and you get to see a lot of different places, and you can make a decision about where you might want to go back to. So I got on the bus at the Tourist Information Centre in the CBD. And the CBD was completely levelled during World War II, and then again by Cyclone Tracy. But today it stands as a testament to modern tropical architecture and serves as a baseline for exploring the top end, which is what they call the upper Northern Territories of Australia. As we were driving, we went past the Crocosaurus Cove, and that's a modern wildlife attraction right on Mitchell Street in town, and it highlights the deeply ingrained croc culture of the Northern Territory. Saltwater crocs have inhabited those northern coastal waters and river systems since the prehistoric era, remaining an apex element of local ecosystem history. We then passed by Doctor's Gully, and today people feed friendly wildfish there. But during World War II, that quiet little inlet was a high-stakes Catalina flying boat base, and giant seaplanes used to take off from that water to go on secret bombing and spy missions against enemy forces in the Pacific. Down at Cullen Bay Jetty, it's a luxury marina, but historically the coastline was a rugged beach ecosystem developed heavily in the late 20th century with lock systems to manage Darwin's extreme 8-metre tidal movements. It now stands as the primary maritime gateway connecting the mainland to Mandorah and the Tiwi Islands. At the Maili Point,
to the left is another piece of Darwin.
There were featured 1930s homes designed by BCG Burnett, and that site showcases tropical architecture designed for airflow that survived both the 1942 bombings and Cyclone Tracy. Around the casino and botanical gardens, at Mindle Beach, which is known for its multicultural markets, it's situated near the Botanic Gardens, which were established in 1871, which have been destroyed and replanted multiple times due to the cyclones.
To the left is another piece of Darwin.
We passed by the Museum and Art Gallery of the Northern Territory, which is located in Fanny Bay, and that museum documents the region's history with a major focus on the devastating 1974 Cyclone Tracy, which led to a massive evacuation. We also passed the Military Museum, which is situated at East Point, and that area marks the site of the 1942 Japanese air raids, which were more severe than Pearl Harbor. The museum features original 1930s gun emplacements. At the Parrop Markets, the area was the site of Darwin's original civilian airfield, famously hosting the 1919 England to Australia flight pioneers Ross and Keith Smith. Stokes Hill Wharf and the oil storage tunnels were a major target during World War II, and the area suffered direct bombing hits on the jetty. Nearby are the engineering marvels of the 1940s oil storage tunnels. At the Waterfront Precinct, which is now a recreational area, this was once Goyder's Camp in 1869, the location of the initial European settlement. Fort Hill Wharf, which we've just got off, was a primary deepwater port. The location was vital for the 1871 landing of the first telegraph cable connecting Australia to the rest of the world. This is passing the government buildings called the Wedding Cake, described as being full of fruit, nuts and alcohol. There's the cathedral. And just some restoration going on around town. Some old buildings that survived. The pair of bells alerting to incoming concerns. While we were there was a military exercise with armed forces from around the world. And then we went into the military museum. The centrepiece of the museum is an indoor experience. There's a multimedia theatre that plays a dramatic 20-minute film using real archival footage, light effects and surround sound audio, and it simulates exactly what it felt like to be standing on the Darwin wharves on February 19, 1942, when 188 Japanese aircraft attacked the city in a raid, larger and more destructive than Pearl Harbor. Outside is the original 1960s museum precinct, which is built into actual wartime infrastructure. Lots of really interesting buildings. Heavy artillery collection is housed inside a concrete command bunker. So it was a really good museum to go and see. Then we moved on to the MAGNT. It's a cultural and scientific institution of Northern Australia. And it's one of the absolute best things to do in Darwin, especially to get out of the heat. While we were there, we saw Sweetheart the crocodile, a colossal 5.1 metre male saltwater crocodile who had become infamous in the late 1970s for terrorising fishers in the Finnis River, and he had a bizarre habit of attacking outboard motors, capsizing boats and chewing on propellers. In 1979, wildlife rangers attempted to relocate him safely, but he unfortunately drowned during the capture process, so he's been taxidermied and he sits there to give you a look at just how big these creatures can get. There's also lots of world-class Indigenous art to have a look at, and a maritime museum, and natural history and prehistoric megafauna. Then there's this exhibit to Cyclone Tracy, and you can go into a booth and listen to the sound. About Cyclone Tracy while we were there. Then that night we went on a sunset cruise, which was just beautiful. But while we're on the cruise, beneath us in the harbour, there's a lot of graveyard of different ships. The water, while it feels calm, underneath it there's quite a current. There's also a lot of crocs. It's a giant croc highway, and between 200 and 300 saltwater crocs are taken out of the harbour every year and relocated. As you drive around, as you float around, you look for traps on the side where they take them and try and find them a new home. So in Darwin, only swim in a pool is what they say. Overall, a great day was had.